Salutations everyone, this is Razor bringing you guys another Overwatch 2 video here today to talk about tanks again. Tanks was the subject of the last video because we had a patch coming up that was going to have huge changes to tanks, and it came out and boy, was that not it. That they need to put that one back in the oven. They were not cooking with that one. That was a bad patch, and it was kind of shown and admitted because very quickly, well, not very quickly, but you know, they put out a patch on a day they never put patches on to nerf Roadhog because he was predictably way too strong. I don't know sometimes how certain ideas can be thrown out there in their patches and it not some super obvious mistakes not be seen. And it really stinks when they take some of the best characters in the game and give them buffs, or take some of the worst characters in the games and give them nerfs. Like Roadhog was already one of the best tanks in the entire game, and he benefited the most from these tank changes. And like Hanzo was already really bad, and then you made his ultimate worse. Like it was already one of the worst. There's some really weird decisions going on with the balance, but tanks are, you know, the big subject right now because the way that the tank meta is way different than it has been at any point in Overwatch 2's history, with the changes that they made to the armor and the knockback resistance. Tanks now have 25% damage protection against headshot damage, which was interesting creative thing to do. Knockback resistance increased from 30% to 15%. This one was a head scratcher to me. As a tank player myself, I did not feel this to be an issue. And now when you have tanks like Wrecking Ball or Doomfist dive in on you, Brigitte's whip shot now doesn't do anything. Lucio's boop now doesn't do anything. It's like you used to like, okay, these tanks are strong against this, but you can play these characters with these abilities to help mitigate against that. Well, now you can't because those knockbacks aren't doing anything. If I whip shot a Wrecking Ball because I don't want it to pile drive me or my other teammates, now with that 50% knockback, he doesn't go almost anywhere, and he's still hitting this pretty much the same slam as he would have if I didn't hit him at all. Winston is still getting that dive that he went for, even if I booped him with Lucio or Brig or something. He still got to where he needed to be the vast majority of the time. So I honestly didn't understand that. To me, as a tank, the only CC that is a huge problem is a Doomfist punch, and that's another tank. So I don't know. These blanket changes that they often make, I find sometimes to be quite questionable. Like, especially when certain characters get zero benefit and everyone else gets a huge benefit, or some characters get hurt by something really bad and other characters aren't touched at all. Like, if you made all the supports do a bunch more headshot damage, was like, well, Ana doesn't get headshot damage, so like that's not going to affect her at all, so she's going to be disproportionately disaffected by this change. It's the same thing I think goes for the headshot and the armor damage. Like, did everybody have to get the same blanket change to 25% headshot damage? Like, it disproportionately affects the roster because the characters are so different. All the characters in every role are so different from one another. And that's the objective from the devs' point of view. They want the characters to be different and fun and fill different needs and roles and synergies and things like that. And yet with some of these changes, they treat them like they are all the same. And I honestly don't understand that. I don't think if you're going to nerf or increase the knockback resistance, do you have to do it for every tank? If you have to decrease the headshot damage, does it have to be the same percentage for every tank? I submit that it doesn't have to be, because it's created a huge amount of problems. And obviously with the armor health being reverted to flat damage reduction per projectile like it was in like the third version of Overwatch 1, for those of you who have played as long as I have and remember that, now we're back to that. So obviously, Tracer can't do almost any damage against the tank. D.va now is just unplayable, really, because pretty much every other tank has armor, so now D.va can't do anything against any other tank. And as a tank, as I mentioned in my previous video, you're expected to do everything. You're expected to gain position, create space. You're supposed to fight the enemy tanks, fight the enemy DPS, go after their squishies, attack the high ground. You're expected to do all these things. D.va can't fight tanks. She had one good matchup against all tanks, and that was Winston, and he had like the lowest pick rate of any tank, and so like that advantage didn't help. And now she's not good against Winston because he benefited a lot from this patch, and she got totally nerfed because she's got the spread shotgun pellet damage, so now she doesn't do damage against tanks that have armor, and that really sucks for her. We've seen a lot of tank stonks go up and a lot go down. Reinhardt, this is the best that I think he's been in Overwatch 2. He's really, really strong. I would say probably top 2 out there, and is probably the best answer against Roadhog. But oh man, guys, I don't want to play Reinhardt. I really, if that's your answer, it's just like, hey, if anything's a problem, just play Reinhardt. I played all of Overwatch 1. I did my time. Look at that fire strike against the tire. That's just reflexes right there. That is trained, honed reflexes from years and years of Reinhardt training. That wasn't a fluke. Like, that was not even hard for me. I knew where it was going to be, when and where to fire the fire strike and destroy the tire, because I've done it 100 times because of how much Reinhardt time I have played in Overwatch 1. If you like 6v6, you must love the game right now, because this is the closest the game has felt to Overwatch 1 in a long time, because of how imbalanced the tanks are. Back then, with two tanks, if you had the wrong balance and the other team had the right balance, things felt just unwinnable no matter what you did from your solo queue position. And right now we are back to that. We are absolutely closer to that than we have ever been before. So if you love 6v6, you want it to come back, you should be thriving right now, because this, if you don't remember 6v6, or if it's been a long time for you, or you have bad memory, if you never played it, this right now is the closest we've ever been to how 6v6 felt, because of, hey, they have a Roadhog and you're not playing Roadhog, then whoa boy, are you in for, oh, they have Roadhog and Mercy? GG, go next. I have not seen a single Roadhog Mercy combo on any team, my own or the enemy's, that has lost a game, ever. I just have not seen it. And when it's solo queue, non-coordinated, no calm environment, that is the toughest thing to do, because both of those characters need coordination to defeat. Put them together, and oh boy, are we in for it, because Roadhog is absolutely dominating right now. This is the strongest that he has ever been, and he was already really strong in so many ways. In so many ways. I've heard top 500 players talk about how strong he is, and obviously he does really well at all levels. From like bronze to gold, he's like only in like the middle of the pack, but after you get past the metal ranks, he just keeps climbing up there. He's also being played in pro play. So, and it really sucks when a character that has so much value, that has no weaknesses and is easy to play, also be the best. That's when problems arise. We haven't seen this since Mauga came out, where it's just like, oh boy, it doesn't matter what you do, Mauga is just better. Or if you were a pro player back at Overwatch 2's launch, Junker Queen was the best tank on every map for every comp. She was just, everybody played her. She had a 100% play rate for every single team until she got nerfed. That wasn't as big of an issue for us laymen, because she's not as easy to use as, say, Roadhog, who he doesn't need help. He can do everything by himself. Zarya benefited from this patch, because shooting her in the head really doesn't do much to it. Doesn't punish her nearly as much anymore. So she has a much smaller window of being able to do anything against her. I can't blame you if you haven't noticed this, just because everybody's playing Roadhog, right? Winston, this is the best Winston's been in like 6 years, guys. Winston's actually playable, and it's fun, and it's awesome playing as Winston, or with a Winston, or even against a Winston. I don't feel bad losing to a Winston. It's just like, yo, I just got diffed right there, because they outplayed. They just completely outplayed. Winston is not an easy character to play. I would love to see somebody argue with me that Roadhog is harder to play than Winston, because oh boy, have things been rough for Winston when there's 4 characters on the roster that completely delete him from the game all by themselves up to this point. Roadhog deletes him from the game, Malga deletes him from the game, Reaper deletes him from the game, Bastion deletes him from the game, and you only need one of those. And 2 of them are not tanks, so it's really easy to get one of those, and they're easy to play characters that everybody knows how to play and have always had decent pick rates. But now, Winston's actually playable as long as you're not up against a Roadhog. That's kind of like the theme. Outside of Reinhardt, every tank that got better is pretty good and playable, unless you're against a Roadhog. Doomfist is really good, and I think has seen a lot more success since Roadhog got that nerf just this past week, where he gets regeneration rate on his Take a Breather gone from 10 to 8 per second, the cooling reduced from healing reduced from maximum 450 to 400, but then he got a buff to the cooldown from 1.5 to 1.2. So let's just talk about Roadhog here for a bit, because there's not many other tanks to talk about. Doomfist is doing really well and is doing even better with less Roadhogs, because Roadhog could like hard destroy him. We've all seen it in all of our matches, right? And Ramatra is just bottom of the barrel outside of d.va, because d.va just can't do anything against anyone anymore. I had a video all ready to go a couple weeks ago about, is d.va playable right now? And she kind of was sometimes, but now she's not. After this patch, she's just not. And Malga, who used to be like a valve against Roadhog, when last time Roadhog was super duper strong, they were like, yeah, we were going to nerf him, but Malga was going to come out. So that was going to, change things up and be an answer to him. And now it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And Junker Queen is just kind of either at the bottom or sort of middling towards the middle, depending on where you are in tier. So Roadhog is beatable. Yes, I as you can see on the defense here, I did not allow his hook to have the possible potential that it usually does. I blocked a lot of them, and when I didn't, he was not in a position to do a ton of damage to me. So yes, he is beatable. I hate it when I make a video about this character's really strong, and people are like, he's not strong, I beat him in my last game. It's like, guys, I'm literally showing you me beating him right now. It's on the screen in front of you. So don't take this as, oh, this character's unbeatable, when I'm showing you him being beaten. Okay, and this is all pre-patch, pre-nerf Roadhog as well. This is when he was at his strongest from a few days ago. But I think Roadhog is just a poorly designed tank. I've said this since Overwatch 1 came out, because he's not a tank. He's a DPS. He's a DPS with 1,000 million billion health. And I think that's really bad for the game, because either there's a Roadhog in your team and it's just a throw pick, because that's not a real tank, so they can't do tank stuff and you lose the game. Or the dev team overtune him to shit and he's stupid broken and there's nothing you can do about it. So either he's stupid broken or he's a throw pick. There's never been an in-between with this guy. And that really sucks. I don't want him to be deleted from the game. I don't want any character to be taken out of the game. But I think he needs a complete rework because of what we have right now. This Take a Breather, ever since it got its rework, he went from a throw pick to a really, really concerning character. Because Take a Breather gives you a ton of health and damage mitigation, and it's not an actual cooldown. It's on a meter, and a short cooldown meter at that, shorter than Sigma's shield deploy and redeploy. It's on a meter. It certainly feels like a lot longer than Defense Matrix, which doesn't heal her and doesn't protect against beams. Roadhog can survive anything. He has no weaknesses. You get shattered, doesn't matter. Get up, take a breather. Even if he got pinned, take a breather. You're good. D.va Bomb, you can walk right at it, arms wide open, like the dude in King Kong who got whacked with the tail and exploded, because he can just take a breather and just tank that shit. And it's not even an issue. He doesn't like barely survive or anything like that. He can walk into, the wrecking ball mines. Doesn't matter. Zarya can grab him. Doesn't matter. Take a breather. It's not an issue. Orisa already has the worst tank ult in the game. We don't even. It's just not good. He's not even going to get 25% of his health taken out by her ultimate. Winston, obviously not an issue. It's just a bad idea. Doomfist, Meteor, you throw all your cooldowns on him. Doesn't matter. It's not going to do that much damage, and he's going to just take a breather, and he's going to hook you, and you're going to die. Sigma, Grav, best case scenario, you destroy half of his health. Ramatra, You come at him, you block, and do all that damage. He's gonna hook you, and he's gonna take a breather. Junker Queen, even if she hits you with the anti of her ultimate, take a breather still does mitigation damage. Mauga, you put him into cage, doesn't matter. He has whole hog. Whole hog beats every tank in the game. It was one of the reasons why they had to nerf it, and it really hasn't made that big of a difference because of the knockback changes that they made hit. But there's so many cases where whole hog is just the best ultimate in the entire game. Nothing else comes close to it because it does the most damage, and you can get environmental kills with it, and you can't stop it. You can't stop it anymore. You can't cancel take a breather. You can't cancel his ultimate. There's no longer counterplay against Roadhog. You can't sleep him because you can't like, oh, he's going to take a breather. Let me sleep him and anti him, and we negate that. Doesn't matter. He just takes the breather anyway because now it's on a meter. It's not something that can be canceled. I can't rock him out of it. Doesn't matter. He just takes the breather. Can't javelin out of it. Doesn't matter. Just takes a breather. You see what I mean? There's just no counterplay against this character anymore, and he is stupidly broken and easy to play. Well, you might be thinking, okay, he's got one really, really good cooldown and the best ultimate out of all the tanks, which is saying something because those are a lot of the best ultimates. His other cooldown is a hard CC on a 7-second cooldown. Are you kidding me? He's got the best ult and the two of the best abilities in the entire game. Like, how does people not see a problem with this? More and more people are seeing the light. Even some of the top rated players in the world are starting to catch on to like this. Oof, this wasn't it, Chief, and it isn't, because the hook is insane. There used to be you hook any character as Roadhog and you're at an immediate advantage because you're going to be at a much better range. You can hook and then whole hog to just like instantly kill anything because you're getting the maximum amount of damage, or you hook them to where they're backed against the wall, so then you're whole hogging them against the wall and things are just easy. He's better against squishies than he was before because of the changes that have been made. DPS are weaker against him. Supports are weaker against him. Tanks are weaker against him. The last 3 patches have made every single character weaker against Roadhog. Even before, there used to be one character as Roadhog's like, you don't want to hook Reaper because Reaper's going to win that fight. That used to be the case. Not anymore. Not to say that Reaper is terrible against Roadhog. I've played as Reaper against Roadhog, and it's still a decent answer. But, I mean, he's still an automatic kill against Winston, the vast majority of Winston's entire lifetime. But you can't do anything against Roadhog because guess what? Takes a breather. He hooks you. You try to blossom, he hooks you. Takes a breather. There's nothing you can do against this guy now. He's just not going to outdamage Hog at that range. Hog is going to have the advantage against anything that gets hooked. And it's the easiest CC to hit in the entire game, and it's a hard CC, and it's a long range. Like, it's insane that this character has everything in their kit, and the devs and other players can't see how this is an issue. I haven't seen a ton of blowback from the community as a whole against Roadhog. People like it when Roadhog is really strong. People don't like it when Orisa is even kind of okay. Orisa just is not allowed to be strong for more than a couple weeks because then the entire community riots. But if Roadhog is good for 1, 2, 3 months at a time, not a peep. You're just not going to hit a peep because people like Roadhog. People play Roadhog. Back in Overwatch 1, 6v6 with 2 tanks, did people want to play Reinhardt? Did people want to play Winston? Did people want to play Orisa? No. They would, if they queued for tank, they were picking Roadhog, baby, because he wasn't an actual tank. He's just shooty DPS duty. That's just what he does. He's just a DPS with a ton of health and hard CC. I mean, yeah, he's technically a tank, but not in the ways anything else is a tank. He's very, very unique, and that makes him either really, really weak or really, really strong, depending on what the devs do to him that month. And I think that is a huge issue. The other tank that we've had this issue with is Mauga. When he came out, he was just the best at all times, and we haven't seen anything dominate the game as much as he did. And now we have Roadhog in a very similar situation. So I think those two characters are just poorly designed, not meant to be tanks, and they need complete reworks. That's the only answer that I have. Again, I did mention that not every tank should be treated the same from the dev team. Not every tank should have the same exact headshot damage mitigation factor. Not every tank should be treated the same, maybe even with, the knockback. Armor is armor. You can't really have that be different. You just change how much armor a character has. But when you have characters that are easy to play and super strong and have no counters, that is an issue for the game. It creates just a really toxic space to where Overwatch 1's worst, that is where I feel we not exactly are right now, but the closest we have been to in Overwatch 2's history. Because when I'm playing DPS or support and I do well, I do like 30 and 4, I feel like, all right, like my numbers look really good, but the reason we won is because our tank matched up better against their tank, because we had Roadhog and they didn't, or whatever it might be. That's what Overwatch 1 felt like a lot of the time. It didn't really matter kind of what you did. If the tank was supported better or was a better tank on the enemy team, or complemented their characters that didn't switch off and yours aren't switching off. So like that's not, people only talk about, tank counter picking when the DPS and supports should also be switching to go up against a threat like Roadhog. And when you have everything firing in all cylinders, he's getting slept, he's getting antied, he's getting booped, he's getting CC'd, he can just get Suzu'd. Not to say that Suzu is a problem and needs to be, super duper changed, but even if you play against Roadhog perfectly, it cannot matter. It can just not matter. As you've seen in the game prior, where I had Roadhog really low health and antied, got Suzu, he took a breather, and they won that fight because he's Roadhog and he just gets to exist, deal a ton of damage, and not die. And I think that's a problem. I think the only answer is to completely rework his kit, change everything. Maybe still have him do something with a hook because that's in so many of his other ancillary animations and things. But the way he is right now, it's not good because he's either a throw pick or the absolute god king of tanks. And Malga could now also be an issue if Roadhog is not in that position because he is a similar kind of character. And I don't want to see characters get deleted from the game. I just want the game to be better for the health of all roles and all characters within that role as much as possible. Some characters are going to be niche, and that's okay. But when you have an one and all be all answer to everything in Roadhog, boy, that's a problem.